Welcome back to Let's Grow Movement, your go-to for all things AI.
All things AR.
We're diving deep into the latest and greatest this week, and let me tell you, it's a big one.
It is a big one.
We're talking about powering the AI revolution, literally.
Literally powering it.
Yeah, you've probably seen the headlines, AI is everywhere, doing everything.
Doing everything.
But have you stopped to think about what it takes to keep those algorithms humming?
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of it all.
Right.
Of what AI can do,
Exactly.
and considering the infrastructure behind it.
Yeah.
But the reality is all that processing power requires massive amounts of energy,
Yeah,
and that demand is only going to grow.
it is only going to grow.
Yeah.
Our deep dive today is all about the energy demands of those giant AI data centers.
Those massive data centers.
We've got a fantastic Forbes article by Christopher Hellman that really digs into the issue, focusing on a case study that's mind-boggling in its scale.
Yeah. Mind-boggling.
We're talking about a $10 billion meta project, codenamed Sucre, a data center in Louisiana that will gobble up enough power for 2 million homes.
Wow.
2 million homes.
It's almost impossible to grasp the sheer size of these projects
Right.
until you break it down. Think about it this way.
Okay.
2.23 gigawatts of power.
2.23 gigawatts.
It's like having a small city constantly plugged in 2047.
Oh.
And that's just one data center.
It's like they're building digital cities.
Digital cities.
Each one with its own energy grid. But let's rewind for a second. Why Louisiana? Is Zuckerberg just really into beignets?
Well, the article suggests that Louisiana offered some pretty sweet tax incentives to lure Meta in. So plus, there's an abundance of natural gas in the state, thanks to fracking in the Haynesville Shale.
Okay.
That makes it a prime location for a gas-powered data center.
Right.
Though it definitely raises environmental concerns.
Right, because even though these data centers are powering virtual worlds, their energy consumption has very real-world consequences.
Very real-world consequences.
And it's not just Meta. This Forbes article highlights a whole tsunami of data center projects on the horizon.
A tsunami.
It's like a digital land grab, with developers scrambling to stake their claim.
Analyst Zach Krause paints a pretty dramatic picture in the article.
Okay.
He predicts that by 2030, we'll need an additional 81 gigawatts of power just for data centers.
81.
That's enough to power the entire state of Texas.
Enough to power all of Texas.
All of Texas.
That's insane.
It's pretty insane.
It seems like we're at a crossroads here.
Yeah.
On one hand, we've got this incredible potential for AI to revolutionize everything. But on the other hand, we have to figure out how to power it sustainably. Or we're going to run into some serious problems.
Exactly. And that brings us to a fascinating economic paradox called the Jevons paradox.
Okay, the Jevons paradox.
And this idea, which the article explores, suggests that as technology becomes more energy efficient, we often end up using it more, which can actually increase overall energy consumption.
Right.
It's like a treadmill. You keep running faster, but you never really get ahead.
Okay, let's unpack this Jevons paradox a bit.
Yeah.
You're saying that even if AI becomes more energy efficient, it might not solve the problem of skyrocketing demand.
Think about it this way. Air conditioners have gotten incredibly efficient over the years.
Okay.
But that also made them more affordable.
Right.
Leading to more people using them.
Yeah.
And ultimately greater energy consumption overall.
I see.
We've seen the same trend with airplanes and even medical imaging.
Okay.
Efficiency gains can be a double-edged sword.
So even if we make these data centers super efficient, the sheer volume of data processing might still lead to an energy crunch.
Exactly.
This feels like a bit of a catch-22.
It's definitely a complex issue, and it's not just about the amount of energy, it's also about the source of that energy.
The source.
If we're relying on fossil fuels like natural gas to power the AI revolution, we're going to exacerbate the very climate problems we're trying to solve with technology.
So we're essentially talking about an energy arms race here.
Yeah, an energy arms race.
AI demands more power, but we need cleaner energy to avoid making the climate crisis worse. It's a tricky balancing act.
It is, but the article does hint at a potential solution, something that might surprise some of our listeners.
Oh.
Advanced nuclear power.
Oh, hold on. Nuclear power.
Yeah.
Isn't that, a bit controversial?
It certainly has its critics. But the article points out that advanced nuclear technology is a different beast altogether.
Different how?
We're talking about next-generation reactors that are smaller, more efficient, and inherently safer than the traditional nuclear plants that come to mind.
So instead of those giant cooling towers we're used to seeing,
Yeah.
we're talking about something more compact.
More compact.
And potentially even located right on site of these data centers.
Exactly. These modular reactors could provide clean, reliable energy right where it's needed.
Okay.
Eliminating the need for long transmission lines and reducing the reliance on fossil fuels.
You know, this is making me think about those sci-fi movies where they have these futuristic power sources that just hum along quietly in the background.
I know what you mean.
It's almost like we're catching up to science fiction.
Well, there are definitely parallels. But as with any new technology, there are hurdles to overcome.
Like what?
Advanced nuclear power is still in its early stages of development, and there are regulatory and safety concerns that need to be addressed.
And let's be honest, there's the whole public perception issue.
Yeah, public perception.
After incidents like Chernobyl and Fukushima, a lot of people are understandably hesitant about anything nuclear.
You're right.
Even if it's demonstrably safer.
You're right. Public perception is a major factor. It's interesting to note that Zuckerberg actually explored nuclear options before.
You did?
The article mentions how he considered building a data center near a nuclear plant in California.
Oh, really?
But the project was ultimately scrapped due to environmental concerns.
Okay.
Though unrelated to nuclear power itself.
Really? So it wasn't even the nuclear aspect that shut it down?
No.
It makes you wonder what other unexpected challenges might pop up as we try to solve this energy puzzle.
It just goes to show that there are always unforeseen obstacles when you're dealing with complex systems. But despite the challenges, advanced nuclear power seems to be gaining traction as a potential solution for energy-intensive industries like AI.
So it's not just about building more data centers. It's about rethinking how we power them.
Rethinking how we power them. Exactly.
It sounds like we need to have a much bigger conversation about our energy infrastructure as a whole.
We do.
If we want to support the AI revolution responsibly.
Absolutely. And this conversation needs to involve everyone, not just the tech companies and energy giants.
Right.
It's about our collective future, and we all have a stake in making sure we get it right.
You know, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of these challenges.
It is a lot to take in.
But I think it's important to remember that we're not powerless.
No, not.
We have the ability to shape the future of AI and its impact on our world.
That's a really important point. We need to be informed, engaged, and willing to challenge the status quo. This Forbes article is a great starting point, but it's just the beginning of a much larger conversation.
I completely agree. And while we're on the topic of starting points, I think there's one crucial aspect of this energy puzzle that we haven't touched on yet.
What's that?
Renewables.
Oh, yeah. Renewables.
We've talked about fossil fuels and nuclear power. But what about solar, wind, and other renewable energy sources?
Right.
Could they play a role in powering the AI revolution?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Because while renewables have made incredible strides in recent years, there are still some limitations to consider.
Like what? Fill us in on the pros and cons of relying on renewables to fuel the AI boom.
Well, one of the biggest advantages of renewables is that they're, well, renewable.
Okay.
Unlike fossil fuels, which are finite resources, solar and wind energy are constantly being replenished. Plus, they don't produce greenhouse gas emissions, which is a huge plus for the environment.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
It sounds like a win-win.
It does.
But what are the downsides?
The downside, there's got to be a catch, right?
The catch is that renewables are intermittent.
Intermittent.
The sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow.
Right.
So relying solely on solar and wind power can be challenging.
I see.
When you need a constant, reliable energy supply, like you do for a data center.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't exactly have your AI going offline every time a cloud passes over the solar panels.
Exactly.
So how do we bridge that gap between the intermittency of renewables and the constant energy demands of data centers?
That's the million-dollar question.
Okay.
And there are a few potential solutions being explored. One is energy storage.
Energy storage.
Using technologies like batteries to store excess energy generated during peak production times and release it when needed. So it's kind of like having a giant backup generator for when the sun goes down or the wind dies down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Another approach is grid diversification.
Grid diversification.
Connecting different regions with varying renewable energy resources.
Okay.
That way, if one region is experiencing low solar output, another region with high wind output can compensate.
It sounds like we need a much smarter, more interconnected energy grid to make renewables a truly viable option for powering AI.
You hit the nail on the head. We need a grid that's flexible, resilient, and capable of managing the fluctuations inherent in renewable energy sources.
This is all starting to sound very futuristic. Are we talking about a complete overhaul of our existing energy infrastructure?
In many ways, yes. We need to move away from the centralized, fossil fuel-dependent model of the past and embrace a more decentralized, renewable-driven energy future.
And what are the costs of all this? Are renewables actually affordable enough to power something as energy-intensive as AI?
That's a common concern. But the reality is that the cost of renewable energy has plummeted in recent years.
Oh, really? Making it increasingly competitive with fossil fuels. And as technology continues to improve, we can expect those costs to drop even further.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the economics of it all. It sounds like we're reaching a tipping point where renewables might actually become the more cost-effective option.
That's exactly right. We're seeing this shift play out in real time, with companies like Google and Microsoft making major commitments to renewable energy for their data centers.
So it sounds like renewables have a lot of potential.
A lot of potential.
But they're not a silver bullet.
No silver bullet.
We still need to address the challenges of intermittency and grid infrastructure to make them a truly viable solution for powering the AI revolution.
You've summed it up perfectly. It's not about choosing one energy source over another. It's about finding the right mix of solutions that can meet our energy demands while minimizing our environmental impact.
And that brings us back to the bigger picture.
The bigger picture. The idea that powering AI sustainably is a complex, multifaceted challenge.
Multifaceted.
We can't just focus on the technology in isolation.
Right.
We have to consider the entire ecosystem, from energy sources to grid infrastructure to public policy. It's a systemic issue.
I couldn't agree more. It's about finding the right balance between technological innovation, economic feasibility, and environmental responsibility.
And it's a conversation that we all need to be a part of. It really feels like we're at this pivotal moment.
Yeah, pivotal moment.
Where decisions we make now will have huge ripple effects down the line. But let's not get too doom and gloom here.
The doom and gloom.
The Forbes article did highlight some positive steps that companies like Meta are taking, right?
Absolutely. While they are relying heavily on natural gas for Sucre initially, they're investing in solar farms and purchasing renewable energy certificates to offset their carbon footprint.
So they're trying to balance the immediate need for power with a longer-term commitment to cleaner energy. It's a start, at least.
It is. And the article even mentions the possibility of retrofitting Sucre to run on advanced nuclear power in the future.
Oh, wow.
Which would be a significant step towards a zero-emission data center.
That would be huge.
It would be huge.
Imagine a world where the powerhouses of the AI revolution are also beacons of sustainability.
Yeah.
It's an inspiring thought.
It's a vision worth striding for, and it speaks to the interconnectedness of these seemingly separate worlds.
Yeah.
AI, energy, and the environment.
Right.
We can't solve one challenge in isolation.
No.
We need to consider the whole system.
Exactly. And I think that's a key takeaway for our listeners. This isn't just about geeking out over the latest AI advancements.
No.
It's about understanding the broader context.
Yeah.
The impact these technologies have on our world and our role in shaping a sustainable future.
I couldn't have said it better myself. We need to be informed citizens, asking critical questions, demanding transparency from companies, and engaging in thoughtful dialogue about the trade-offs involved. Yeah. It's not about being anti-AI. It's about being pro-planet and pro-future.
And that's where a deep dive like this can really help, right?
Absolutely.
By understanding the complexities of these issues, we can make more informed choices in our own lives and advocate for change on a larger scale.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, and the more we know about the challenges and opportunities presented by AI, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this exciting but uncertain future.
Well said. So to wrap things up, what are some key takeaways you hope our listeners will walk away with today?
First, I hope they'll appreciate the sheer scale of the energy demands associated with AI.
Okay.
We're not just talking about powering your smartphone.
Right.
We're talking about powering massive data centers that consume as much electricity as entire cities.
It's mind-blowing, really. And second, I hope they'll recognize that this isn't just a tech issue. It's an energy issue, an environmental issue, and ultimately a societal issue.
Absolutely. The decisions we make today about how we develop and deploy AI will have far-reaching consequences for generations to come.
And finally, I hope they'll feel empowered to be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
This isn't something that should be left solely to tech companies, policymakers, or energy experts. We all have a role to play in shaping a future where AI benefits humanity and the planet.
I wholeheartedly agree. The more informed and engaged citizens we have, the better equipped we'll be to navigate these complex challenges and harness the incredible potential of AI for good.
Well, on that inspiring note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from the economics of data centers to the potential role of advanced nuclear power and renewables. It's been quite a journey.
It has. And I want to commend our listeners for taking the time to delve into this important topic with us.
Yes, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the energy demands of AI data centers. It's a topic that we'll be revisiting in future episodes as the story continues to unfold.
And in the meantime, we encourage you to continue exploring this issue, asking questions, and sharing your insights. The future of AI is in our hands, and it's up to all of us to shape it wisely.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep growing with us here at the Let's Grow Movement podcast.
See you next time.